There are predictions that hundreds of millions of jobs will be lost in the next few decades due to automation. But our guest today says that no, people will mostly just be redeployed to what are actually more interesting, higher level customer relationship jobs. Well, to hear more, let's meet Antonios Christidis, a partner at Mercer, one of the world's largest human resources consulting firms, and he also co-leads a partnership with the management consultants Oliver Wyman on defining the workforce for the future. I'm Sarah Lockett. Welcome to the Business Debate. Antonios, welcome to the London Stock Exchange studios.
Nice to meet you, Sarah.
So you don't share some of the doomsday predictions that the robots are going to take over, do you?
This question really has a timeline aspect to it. You know, if we think in the next 3 to 5 years, which is probably a timeline that we can actually make predictions, I would say no. There will be some elimination of jobs. There will be some jobs that will go away, and we already see examples like tellers becoming, personal shoppers. A transactional job being moving into a more relational type of job. But certainly the impact in the next 3 to 5 years will not be as dramatic as some of the other studies suggest.
Now, what proportion of the workforce do you think can upgrade to these higher level jobs? Is it everyone? Is it no one?
Yeah, I think, again, that's a question that we need to think a little bit broader. In reality, we can today map people and jobs and skills against current jobs. We cannot really map them against jobs that haven't been invented yet. So I would say that if we look back and we think of the agricultural transition towards the industrial age, what happened there, we had a lot of automation of jobs in the agricultural sector, moving away. This didn't lead to an army of unemployed. It actually led to new opportunities for new people. Something similar will happen now, and the majority of people with the right mindset will be able to actually upskill.
And what are the main things that companies need to be thinking about when they are reshaping their workforce?
It all starts with a proposition and what they want to, and what is their business model, how they deliver their business. If I give a very quick example, if you think of a company that their sales are moving more and more towards the online channels from a traditional field sales channel, what you have there is you have a company that in the old days would have a sales department that would be constructed generally through field sales, area sales managers, regional sales managers, key account managers. Suddenly they move to an environment that they have data scientists and digital marketeers and SEO optimization experts. You end up in an environment that you have a sales department without salespeople. So you see that the dimensions that the company should think in this environment is basically the size of the employees, it's the shape, it's, where do we source these people from, and of course what skills do we need if our sales department doesn't sell anymore directly.
And how do you know the combination that you need of internal staff, freelancers, automation and bots, or people working in the gig economy?
It really depends on the characteristics of the business of what you do. So certain jobs will always be sourced in-house, internally. You will need to own the skills. If you have jobs that basically operate with high sensitive data, you don't want to source this from outside. So it depends on what industry you're in. If you have a job like me, being a consultant, probably your employer would love to deploy my skills when we actually have paid projects and not pay me the rest of the time. So it's really the characteristics of the jobs and the mix that you deploy.
And which sectors are really doing this well? Whose can we learn from?
I think it's the sectors that experienced disruption earlier on in the process. So things like technology, like retail, you have companies in these sectors that because of the environments they had to engage in, if they didn't change, they would be going out of business. We see some of these ideas maturing more there. Having said that, the idea of the future of work and how we need to change in order to stay relevant is now expanding, I think, across the economy.
What do you think about the way that firms are using crowdsourcing? So this is maybe asking customers, which of these designs do you prefer before it even gets to market? And are there many companies doing it?
There's more and more companies experimenting with the new work models. And again, it has a direct impact on how they are structured and what skills they need. Again, if I use an example, a software company that in the old days would actually use internal quality control, let's say engineers, to set up and test code that they would release. Now they actually use crowds of people and they publish. This automatically creates a challenge of, how are we organized? Do we need internally this type of skill set? Plus it also creates data security type of questions. How do we release the code in order not to let it slip?
And would you say all these changes are being driven by the technology, by what's possible, or by what customers expect?
I would say definitely it's the customer expectation that comes first. Technology is basically enabling that process. As our lifestyle is changing, we expect to receive products and services in new ways and in different ways. This means that companies basically have to first understand the clients, and one could say that this was always the case, but actually the pace of change is so much faster these days that you can easily slip and miss that. So understanding customer first is really the key to that future of work.
And upskilling the workforce isn't just a business problem, is it, for companies to deal with? How does it affect the whole of the education system?
Yeah, this is not my core area of expertise, but if I share an opinion, I think the idea of a static relationship to education, like today you go 12 years at school and then you go to university, is probably becoming obsolete. We move in an area where continuous learning and continuous upskilling is the core of how we need to live our lives. So an idea that basically says that we need to have a format that associates ourselves lifelong to educational institutions, and that relationship is focused on the cognitive type, less the technical type of the equation, is really, I think, something our government should think of.
Very interesting. Well, Antonios, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. My pleasure.
And join us next time when we'll be discussing the latest innovations in artificial intelligence and investment management. But for now, from me, Sarah Lockett at the London Stock Exchange Studios, it's goodbye and thanks for watching.